Good evening, good evening, good evening, folks. Welcome to the WhiteWalkers Chat Craic on the Ulster Rugby Roundup show this evening. You've got myself, Chris Brownfield, leading the show, and we've got the lovely Dave Toppin in the TMO shed. Good evening, Mr. Toppin.
Hello. I may have eventually made it out of here, but you know what? It's like trudging through the quagmire.
Excellent. Lovely to see you, David. This evening's going to be a cracking show. As always, you've got yourself in the TMO box, myself, Chris Brownfield, the chair of the South Wales Ulster Rugby Supporters Club, who appears to be leading this evening. White Walker won this evening. Nigel Quigley is currently, well, is he? He's not even on the bench, is he? We think he's dropped out. Maybe an injury, Dave Toppin. We don't really know, do we?
Yeah, we're not sure at the minute now. I think the latest news we have that he seems to be Bjorn again. Maybe I don't know, but we'll be endeavouring to find out. Well, I think best
Absolutely.
joke of the night. Winner takes it all.
I'm sure there'll be many, many more dancing queens, more than Nigel Quigley this evening. So we'll see how it goes, sir. Can we
Boom,
just
boom, boom.
can we just welcome our audience this evening across the world? And once again, thank Joe Shep for sharing this show across multi-sites this evening. As far as we know, Joe has got himself a power cut down in Wexford this evening, so he may or may not be dipping in and out as we go. So this evening we've got a special guest. We've got Philip GREER, the honorary president of the Ulster Rugby branches, with us this evening. So we've got a series of questions. Folks, it's possible you may have some questions as well to throw at us, which I'm sure Mr. GREER will be able to answer, depending on the censorship as we go. But as always, the WhiteWalkers Chat Craic Ulster Rugby Roundup show is brought to you, as always, in conjunction with Kanako Biltong. As we know, it's a multi-award winning South African snack food company across the province, providing biltong, trofors, and many, many other high-protein snacks sourced from sustainable, ethically and locally sourced Irish beef, and absolutely cracking flavour of meats. And we know the girls do a phenomenal job in the
Nom.
across the farm. Obviously, also brought to us this evening by Auto Door Solutions, our very own White Walker One, Nigel Quigley's, who designs, supplies, installs, maintains all makes of automatic doors and entrance solutions across a variety of industry. I just wonder, does he do back doors or is it just front doors? What is it that Nigel actually specializes in? I hasten to wonder.
Well, I think all we can say there is, answers on a postcard, please. Person out of the dodgy mug wins a prize.
As always. And guys, also brought to us this evening by Indie Foods, deli, but not like any other. The name originates from two main philosophies, the indigenous and the independent. They sell only small batch artisan products from the beautiful and bountiful island of Ireland. All 700 of them and counting. They're going to hit the 1,000 pretty soon, we reckon. They are simply passionate about local food, producers, and the stories behind each product. So very big welcome this evening, folks. We are going to just touch upon a few factors this evening. We're going to talk about the injury list that is starting to hit the Ulster squad at this stage of the season. Some of those from the Autumn International Series. We're going to review the Ulster Zebre game. We've obviously got our special guest, Philip GREER, talking about Ulster branch and all things rugby from his perspective. And we're going to finish off talking about the Autumn International Series, the great work that Irish Rugby have delivered over the last few weeks. So all good. Mr. Toppin, over to you, sir. Shall we talk off on the injuries and just get that bit done and
Yeah.
dusted?
Yeah, we'll get the bad news out of the way here, folks. Might as well get it done and dusted. Obviously, the big one, obviously, we found it with Rory Sutherland with the knee. Rob Balakoon done the hamstring. He joined Sean Reppel. Jude Postlethwaite, Ian Madigan, and the unfortunate Will Addison. I'm going to give a shout out to Will for that one. We know he's been wanting to come back for quite some time now, but just that leg just still giving him a wee bit of bother. But and of course we have to give a shout out for Aaron Sexton. He's had surgery for a thumb ligament injury. Whilst he was playing for Malone in the AIL. So, look, our best wishes to everybody, and hope they get well soon, and we'll see them back on the pitch.
Absolutely. And I think, I would love to see Will Addison back on the park in time for Sale. It might just be a game too early and too big a game, but I tell you what, against his old club, it would be a sensational comeback to see to see him hitting the straps at that point.
Oh,
Do excuse me there, guys, for that little cough. So all good. So some long-term injuries there, Dave Toplin, some hopefully short-term, and of course, great to see young Henderson back on the bench this evening, tomorrow evening, and obviously with Dwayne Vermeulen hitting the straps as captain this week is going to be absolutely fantastic.
oh, I can't wait. You know what? It's actually nice to see. To see a real good team coming out for that, and just give me a second. I do have it handy for once. We've actually managed to get the right one this time, not like last month's debacle with with my Back to the Future special.
Definitely.
And in fact, here we are, guys.
So what a front
So
row, lots and lots of youth there. Marty Moore's experience, international experience, going to be great. Tom Stewart has just been a flyer this year. There's no question. He's hit his straps really well at hooker. Callum Reid obviously brings so much power and speed again to the front row. Cormac is a Chukwu. Sam Carter, I think that's an absolutely fantastic partnership in the second row. And then seeing the Ray brothers packing down opposite each other with Dwayne in the middle is a sensational looking pack. What are your thoughts on that, David?
you know what? I'm looking forward to it, and considering that Maddie's been dressed up as a zebra for the last couple of days, thanks to the Ulster Rugby folk for putting everybody's head astray for that one. But you know what? It's great to see Ezechukwu and Carter there. It's about time, and of course the Ray brothers. Well, come on, we know we're going to be in for a treat with that lot, and lovely to see Thor putting the big C armband on. I think it's about time. But considering how much of a leader he is on the pitch anyway, I think that's just going to add to it. Looking at the backs, Nathan Doak, and first cap for Jake Flannery.
Oh, it's going to be an awful evening for him, and if he plays like he did in the pre-season friendly against the Exeter Chiefs, he's got a great future ahead of him. And I would just hope Ulster Rugby can really develop and fine tune alongside Billy Burns and the remainder of in Mads and so on at 10. It's going to be a fab opportunity for him, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Stocker's back in the wing. We have said it week in, week out. Stockdale is absolutely hitting the straps form wise, starting to almost be the sort of the player he was when he was alongside Charles Piatow leading to that Heine quarter in 2019. Real flash of brilliance coming back, and his aerial work is superb this year. So
I have to agree with you there, Chris. Absolutely cracking. It's nice to see him return back to form. And of course, Luke Marshall there, along with James Hume.
Great
McElroy.
Did you read Luke Marshall's article that he was involved in this week, where he feared his career was over?
Absolutely.
I think it's fair to say many Ulster fans probably in the same boat, fearing that his career was done and dusted. But I mean, he's just been great, hasn't he? He's back to probably his best, if not exceeding his previous best. James Hume unlucky with the Irish Autumn International Series, would you say, David?
I would. I think Hume didn't really get the opportunity to show what he could do, and obviously that means everybody else gets a weekend. To be honest with you, I thought Nick Timoney should have been a bit more involved than he was. He played very well in the matches that he was appearing in. So for me, I think that there are a few people who could cut themselves unlucky. We knew Hendo would come in eventually, but again, just the time and injuries just weren't playing well for him.
Yeah, for sure, good stuff, and obviously Ethan Shirley Moore, the silent assassin, is doing some great stuff there. Again, he's back in at number 15, and it's going to be quite a battle for number 15 shirt once we obviously we've got Michael Lowry, we've got Will Addison returning on obvious 15. Shirley Moore filling at 15, and he's played brilliant in that position so far anytime he's put the shirt on. So I think our back line is just getting hopefully with fitness, just going to go better and better and better, which is going to be great. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I did read somewhere this evening. I think Ulster are 80-1 favourites to win. I think it's by 26 or 28 points clear. I just hope the guys don't win all guns blazing, thinking it's a done deal before the whistle blows. Let's keep the focus, keep the pressure on, and points will come. But let's not try and win it the first 10 minutes.
I think anytime we sort of take a lead after 2 minutes, usually it turns out to be some sort of a nail biting, squeaky bum time sort of game. So yeah, I think if we score after 10, I think we'll be grand.
Yeah, I think I've got the nails biting already by the sound of that. And of course, South Wales also do a lovely range and stress balls perfectly for tomorrow evening.
So that's what that noise was. I'll figure that out eventually.
I'll tell you what, David, in for a cracking show. Guys, if you've got any of your own comments on the selection for tomorrow evening, what your thoughts on regarding the 80-1 odds, if you thought about the scoreline, if you got any other feedback of your own, please feel free to share your thoughts on the show. And I think, without further ado, it's just gone about 15-minute mark. I think we should certainly introduce our honorary president of the Ulster branch, Mr. Philip GREER. Philip, would you like to bring yourself into the show, sir? This is down to our TMO.
There he is.
Good evening to you, sir. Welcome to the WhiteWalkers Chat Craic show this evening. My name is Chris. I'll be looking after you, and DT is in the TMO box. Welcome, Philip. How are you doing, sir? Philip, can you hear us? Oh, Philip appears to be having some connection trouble. Philip? Nope, he can't hear us at the minute. Okay, any thoughts, sir, DC? Connection trouble with Philip at the moment.
Let me have a wee look here.
Okay, guys, I'm going to put on some ABBA in the background until Philip can hear us. We can't hear you, Philip. Nothing at this end. Okay, right, guys, bear with us. Let me just put on some Dancing Queen in the corner. Okay, right. Okay, so right, while we're trying.
Let's try and get him back in here.
Philip, can you hear us? Nope. Okay, can you disconnect your earphones? Take them out, unplug them. Unplug, David. Philip. Hello, Philip, can you hear us?
That's working now. I can hear you now.
Oh, brilliant. Good evening, Philip. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Am I coming through clear, guys?
You're
absolutely,
indeed, loud and proud. Yeah, lovely to see you. Looking well, my friend.
Well.
A big welcome to the show, and thank you for your time this evening, Philip. Really appreciate it. So,
no,
good.
On me and go easy on me.
We always do. We always do. Philip, obviously, it was a great pleasure to catch up with you during the Connacht show. And a very big thank you for the invite from yourself and Johnny Peatley that evening. It was a great evening, great result, and obviously a real tribute to the Nevin Spence family. So it was a huge night for Ulster Rugby, wasn't it?
It was one of those evenings that we won't forget for a long time. I think it's the sensitivity around it, and I thought Ulster Rugby handled it particularly well. Obviously, it was very traumatic still, and still very raw for the family. But to have them there just made it so special. And I'd say I would have congratulated, and I've already done, everyone in Ulster Rugby for how they handled the situation. And it was just a wonderful evening. Good about rugby football.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and certainly, for the Nevin Spence Memorial Stand to become a feature later in the year is just going to be an outstanding, lifelong tribute to the young man, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I know the family are very touched by that, and it's proper order.
Yeah, it really is. So, Philip, there's going to be many folk across Ulster Rugby who may be a little bit unfamiliar as to where Ulster Rugby branch fit in with Ulster Rugby, and in terms of, we've got the IRFU, we've got Connacht, Leinster, Munster, Ulster. Can you just give us a wee bit of insight into how the structure works, just briefly?
Oh, good question. That's when I said go easy, that obviously that fell on deaf ears. So basically, to try and explain it in layman's terms so that I can understand it myself, firstly, the IRFU is technically known as the union, and the IRFU has basically the game of rugby in Ireland at all that cascades down into the 4 provincial branches who have to run their who have a budget to run their professional game and a budget from the IRFU to run their domestic games. So, the IRFU don't control championship or Towns Cup or Junior Cup fixtures in Ulster, but they do control the AIL programme throughout Ireland. So it's actually a very good system, and I would give them credit, because the IRFU, when the game went professional, the first thing they did was centrally contract all their players, and that gave them control. And you can see now, from a governance point of view, especially when we a minute and the Premiership, from a governance point of view, the IRFU keep a very strict control on the budgets of the 4 provinces. That allows them also to control who the provinces sign, which you may say is fair or unfair. I think it's fair, because if you take it to the nth degree, if the 4 provinces all signed a foreign out half, how are Ireland going to develop one? So they see that. There is, don't get me wrong, each of the CEOs, Johnny Petrie, for example, who does a great job for us in Ulster, they will have license to raise their own funds as well. If we sell Kingspan out every game, obviously we'll come in ahead of budget. That money will go into Ulster Rugby coffers. Hence the reason why Leinster would have a war chest a bit heavier than most of ours due to success. So that's really the way it works, if that explains that.
Yeah, that really does. That's a brilliant bit of insight. And, you mentioned the Premiership rugby, specifically with what's going on with Ulster Warriors and Wasps, and luckily it does seem like both of those clubs are being saved by Mike Ashley taking over Wasps. And we've got a Belfast, former director of Ulster Warriors from Belfast, seems to have set up a conglomerate, which is going to hopefully drive Ulster Warriors back to some degree of success. And they're going to have to spend a wee bit of time in one level down, but that'll not take those sides long to bounce back up. But we also think about the Welsh Rugby Union. There's huge discussions, Philip, where the WRU are. Their recent results in the Autumn International Series reflected by the Italian defeat during the Six Nations Series, Georgia now. And you could argue the provincial system, the regional system, Wales could learn a lot from the union, the Irish Rugby Football Union in that respect. So it's a program that other nations could do well with looking at, I think. Would you agree?
No, absolutely would. I don't like to talk about Wales much. Of a Welsh son-in-law and a Welsh brother-in-law, so that's a very sensitive subject at the minute.
Don't mention it more. So and it's a really, really interesting thing. So touch wood. People like Bradley Roberts will see success, for Wales again in the future, one of our own Ulstermen. But, I think Irish Rugby Football Union seem to be absolutely hitting the sweet spot at the minute in many ways. And
it's difficult to argue when you're ranked number first time. It's very difficult to argue with any of the high performance, let's say, directors or coaches at the minute. They're. I'd rather be negotiating from their position than mine at the minute.
I was very lucky, Philip, on the evening of the Connacht game. I shared a table with the Hinch crew of yours and former outgoing presidents, and we had loads of discussions about it's very hard to argue about what the guys are doing and what they are and what they should be. They're in a very, very high place at the minute in terms of
fingers crossed it lasts. Absolutely, and I think it will.
Yeah, absolutely, they are definitely in a very, very good place. So just going back to some other bits and pieces, just tell us a wee bit about yourself, Philip. Where did your passion for rugby actually stem from? Can you take us back those couple of years?
Well, it's more than a couple of years, that's for sure. It's closer to 50, unfortunately. But I first started to play rugby at school, in Down High School, not a big school, but that, in those days, rugby was the only show in town for school. You did rugby across country. You didn't have, any other options. I came there as no mini rugby in those days even. So, the first time I got a rugby ball in my hand was under 12s Down High. Got in with a bunch of boys and played right the way through school in those days and really enjoyed that. I think there is something special about the team ethos in rugby that other sports don't just quite get, and I'm not knocking other sports, but there is something very special, whether it's due to the physicality of the game or whatever it is. there is something special about being in a winning changing room 5 minutes after the game's over in rugby, and you know you've done your bit, and you look around and your teammates have pulled you through too. So when I started to play, involved in Ballynahinch from day one. Just one of those things. I was young, and somebody saw a bit of a spark in me, and you know, I captained the second 15 when I was about 20. When you're captaining guys with 35-year-old men, you know, who when you're 20, 35 is ancient. You know, when you're 62, you'd bite your arm off for it. But so Ballynahinch started to go on that sort of a bit of a journey. You know, and we have gone from a junior for those who, you know, to All Ireland 1A, and only club in Ulster in All Ireland 1A. So we have a local derby now with Clontarf in Dublin. But when you start to go on that journey and you realise that that's all volunteer led, and you see the drive and the passion coming from others, it's very, very infectious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really where it come from. I'm immensely proud of the journey Ballynahinch have come on. I've played my part in it, but it's a very small part compared to everybody else's. But in reality, we have gone from non-league to Premiership.
And as we know, the Hinch is actually quite a small district, isn't it? As a town goes, it's got a reasonably small sort of pool of players to dabble into, isn't it, compared to other regions of the province?
There's 5,000 to 6,000 people in Ballynahinch. You know, we depend on our hinterland, which, you know, we would say spreads anywhere south of Belfast and north of Kilkeel, which is a big area, to be fair. But we depend on our hinterland, and we depend on schools in Lisburn, you know, schools, even outskirts of schools in Belfast, etc., for growth, and our own youth, which is very important to us. Yeah, no, look, it's. And there are other success stories in Ulster Rugby too. When I look at, you know, Banbridge and Armagh, you know, rural clubs again going well, the resurgence of Estonians. So, and again, you'll find that just coincidentally have, you know, really strong volunteers, and they're based at this time all driving together.
Yeah, you know, and just talking with those volunteers, Philip, I know you're absolutely passionate about the whole concept of volunteering within rugby, and certainly in your term as president. I think that is fair to say one of your focus, something that you would love to see being driven, being flourished, successful, is the whole process of volunteering within rugby across the island. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 110%. You know, I have two themes in my year of president, and I'm not out there to, you know, to rock the world. You know, there's no eureka moment in my all the small things well, and doing them as well as I can. The two themes are volunteer recognition. So my guests, my own personal guests, are always from a volunteer base, sometimes in our own sport, sometimes in other sports, whether that's Gaelic or golf, because I have a lot of admiration for the Gaelic Athletic Association and how they build volunteers in particular. And the other theme for my presidency is collaboration, and I'm a great believer in that. You know, we compete hard on the field, both with, you know, our opposition and other sports, but collaborate with your opposition and collaborate sports off the field. We can all other. We all have the same issues, and I have to say that you know, I think that there's a strength in us sharing best practice. And working really hard together off the field. We actually need each other. You know, that's the reality. There's no point in being jealous of each other. Actually work together and learn from each other.
Yeah, and I think I had a good chat with Willie Anderson maybe last year before, and Willie Anderson said Ulster Rugby and GAA, for example, would both have a huge opportunity to thrive if there was greater cohesion, greater partnership working in many ways, and volunteering is a part of that, and also the professional aspects of how they manage the game. You only have to look at Rob Carney, for example, in the air. His aerial skills are world class from his GA days. So, you know, I think you're absolutely right about that need to sort of unite those opportunities as far as possible. I think that's
absolutely. Look very quickly and briefly. I was chairman of one of my roles, and the first thing we did was engage with the local chairs of the Gaelic clubs around us. And I have to say, you know, we sat down under a cup of coffee in the Millbrook Lodge Hotel, and they have the same issues as we have. We worked a lot out together. We actually ran a joint Strictly fundraiser, which we put 400 people into Millbrook when people said we could never. So it's fundraising, it's cross community, it's collaborating. It ticks every box.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, and it's great that is one of our passions. Of course, you think about Ulster Rugby Supporters Club, you think about the stuff we're doing. We're out here in South Wales. Again, it's all volunteer driven, and as we know, there's always a small, tight number of volunteers who pretty much orchestrate. They're the ones that are seen to be doing all the work, but we know behind that, there's also a wealth of volunteer work that goes completely unseen. And I think it's those unsung heroes that sometimes should be given a little bit of a platform and a little bit of recognition. The same people.
You've nailed it in one there. Volunteer recognition are the two words, and it's that recognition. Always the guy whose name's up in lights.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So yeah, some great things there on that. So thank you, Philip. And I just want to run another couple of bits and pieces past you. We're trying to go gentle on you because that's what you requested at the very start. So can you give us any thoughts? And these are your own thoughts, so you can take off your presidency hat for 5 minutes. What are your thoughts on the inclusion of the admission of Ulster Rugby players in the squad, the Irish Rugby Football Union squad, leading into the Rugby World Cup? Any thoughts on that, on omissions or inclusions from the Ulster Rugby lads going in?
Well, look, I was delighted to see Stuart McCluskey getting a run. That's the first thing. And I think all of Ulster was delighted to see him getting a run. I think a big thing around Stuart's game was he was fantastic in the first few minutes of this, where he can take them on physically, and one of the few that can. And we've seen him do that for Ulster a lot. And playing with Johnny Sexton in particular, I think was good for his game. I do think some of the Leinster commentators, taking a hat off, were a wee bit out of order. Very much so, but that's I can't do anything about that. It would be nice to see Ian Henderson fit, to see does he figure in the plans.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he probably does, and I still think there's probably in the row with probably with James Ryan to allow Byrne to play at 6, perhaps, to give us more line-out options. Although you can't write Peter O'Mahony off for anything. He's just an amazing warrior. A guy I have the utmost respect for, I have to say. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of this is timing. You can be very unlucky with the timing, that there's just somebody excellent in your position. James Hume's injury, probably timing wasn't good. I still think he has a future, of course, in Ireland, and Rob Ballynahinch too. And again, Nick Timoney happens to be playing the same position as the World Player of the Year, and Van der Fleer. That's a bit unlucky. At any other time he might have 20 caps by now.
Yeah.
But look, Dan McFarland will have them absolutely buzzing and wound to make sure that they are on their game, that when they get their opportunity, they can stake a claim for the World Cup. And I do expect 4 or 5 at least Ulster men to be in that squad. And I think one of the unsung heroes of that squad is Rob Herring.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Rob Herring comes on and seals out game after game after game, and doesn't get anywhere near the recognition he deserves for his performances.
Yeah, and he is just such a almost an unseen champion of the game. He goes about his work. His darts are generally on the money every single week in, week out. His maul management of the maul going over towards the try line. His defensive work goes completely unnoticed. He is an absolute warrior.
Yeah, he's a great chop tackler.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Kieran Treadwell has really tried to grab the ball with the nuts, hasn't it? To be fair.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, those guys just need a big finish to this season. That'll be it. If Ulster can go well, I think a lot of it is around success of your team at the time. If the team's going well, your confidence is high. So if Ulster can keep going well, we're second in the league at the minute. If we can keep going well and and challenge in Europe, that's going to put some people's names definitely in the lights.
Absolutely. Of course, there has been one name that's been in the lights for the last 3 seasons, and it doesn't seem to almost glance across into D2 selection. Our lovely John Cooney. I mean, what else is the guy supposed to do? He has been, week in, week out, man of the match, or his performance against La Rochelle a couple of years ago, Claremont single-handedly disrupted Claremont and it still wasn't enough. And you can see how the fans start to really, really get riled when you think, what else is the boy supposed to do?
It's very difficult to understand that. Don't pretend to understand that for 1 second. And I think the biggest frustration for me would be that he also has, he is an absolute.
Sorry. Don't know
what
happened there.
Yeah,
we're back.
He's an absolute.
Absolutely, he's a top line place kicker, and to have that in your armory for international rugby, because outside of section, do we have anybody else that would be in the 80 or 85% under pressure?
Not really, not at the minute. Obviously, the Ross Burns and Crowleys, those guys will come through eventually. But the thing is, those are development players. Cooney's already there at world class level. There is no question. He's week in, week out, and I don't know what. Obviously, there's been the thing bandied around about Cooney possibly picking up a Scottish Rugby Union cap along the way, and that would be a really interesting, sort of dynamic. Some fans are for it, some aren't. But could you really deny him an international jersey at this stage in his career from anywhere?
Look, with taking my own hat off, you couldn't blame him much, but we'd all prefer to see him play for Ireland.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really important. So, all good. So some really, really good thoughts on that. Thank you for that, Philip. And go on, DT.
Well, I've got a question, and something which I sort of noticed over the last couple of weeks. A lot of development on girls rugby, in particular. And I'm going to give a wee shout out to Richard Milligan and the guys down at Omagh Academy or Omagh Ackies. Their girls team have gone on a real good run there this last few weeks. But Philip, I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on. Obviously, the Give It a Try program has been going quite well and really sort of growing the girls rugby and women's rugby sidings. Where do you see that going in the future within Ulster branch?
Women's rugby is something that's pretty close to my heart, as I was on the women's committee for a while. So, and I can also tell you that the Omagh ladies, I was at the Omagh Ackies dinner, so the Omagh ladies performed very well there too, off the pitch, I have to say. But look, it's quite simple with girls rugby, whether that's at youth level or up into the adult level. We need to broaden the base as much as possible. The bottom of the pyramid is not wide enough at this minute in time. And also, I know Ulster Rugby are working very hard at developing that. So it's great to see clubs like Omagh doing it. My own club, Ballynahinch now, the girls have got going again. We need to broaden that base so that we have the participation in a numbers game. The more you have playing, the more cream will rise to the top, and the higher the standard will become. And that's really, at the minute, the base is too narrow to make Ulster Rugby strong provincially especially when you come to play Leinster, where there's a lot of strength.
Yeah, because I know for the City of Derry, for example, I know for their girls teams, they've teamed up with a few other of the local teams just to make sure everybody gets a good go at getting some game time.
Well, again, I think that's a tremendous initiative from the point of view of does it really matter which club it is if there's 15 or 20 girls getting a game, and they come from 2 clubs or 3 clubs in a local area? Fair play, get on with it, get them in, because we could have 3 teams out of that in 3 years' time.
Yeah, without a doubt. But it's going to take that bit of time, isn't it? Really, Philip.
I think we've got to be a wee bit more patient, maybe than what we are. But it is a build from the bottom up.
Yeah, absolutely. And just another wee thought. Talk about building from the bottom up. One thing that that we in South Wales Ulster Rugby are really passionate about is the development Ulster squads, the Ulster Age, for example. And historically, we attended and we're lucky to watch the guys at the British and Irish Cup on many occasions, on the Celtic Cup across sort of the 4 regions of Wales. And those opportunities have sadly slipped away over time. But what's your thoughts on that void, if you like, Philip, in terms of we haven't got that developmental opportunity? The young lads are playing the provincial games, obviously against Munster, Connacht, and Leinster, but surely they need more access beyond that. Any insight on that, or any thoughts from yourself?
Well, look, I think there's 2 aspects to that. Firstly, there does need to be, there probably at some stage will be a replacement for a British and Irish Cup or a Celtic Cup or whatever it is. You do need a vehicle whereby these guys that are training 5 days a week in academy and development, playing against like-minded people who are training under the same schedule, and to pitch themselves against that, even to benchmark, etc. The one thing I would say, though, is, and I think Leinster have recognised it very well, we shouldn't rule out the vehicle that is All Ireland Division 1. It is a very, very strong standard. It's not that long ago. Well, I'm saying not that long ago. Like, it's only 6 or 7 years ago. I would have been watching Ballynahinch playing UCD, and Ross Byrne, Gary Ringrose, and Josh van der Fleer were playing on the same team. Yeah. So like that's the sort of talent, or Tom O'Toole, or James Hume at Banbridge. Ryan Bird played for Trinity just 2 years ago. Rob Ballacoon played for Ballynahinch. So, those sorts of players are out there getting exposure in Division 1A, and 1B, and if they're getting that every week, it doesn't replace the other, but it definitely supplements it and complements it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, and I think it's about that journey for Irish rugby, just making sure they get that balance right about that professional development, being on tour. And I guess you could sort of say that's where the Irish development tour to South Africa, that was about that process, wasn't
it? Yeah. Look, if you chat to Bryn Cunningham and these guys, who again have lots of respect for, you do need this vehicle where you take the guys away in a bus, on a flight, you put them in a hotel, and they get used to getting out of their own schedule and getting out of their comfort zone and having to go and play. And they need that sort of environment before you throw them into a URC game, or certainly a European game. So you do need to be able to do that to see how guys react, because some guys will step up and some guys will get like caught in the sort of headlights, as we know. So
yeah, for sure. And I've just read a wee comment there from Gerald Williamson. David, can you find that comment from Gerald about talking about women's Celtic Cup with teams from Ireland, Wales? That's it. That'll be an absolutely fantastic opportunity for the women's game as well. For the
I have heard some chat about that. I don't know an awful lot about it. I think there is some chat about combined provinces. So maybe, whether that's one Ireland team or maybe 2 teams from the combining all the provinces, just to put 1 or 2 teams in. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not sure, but there definitely will be some type of a competition to give them, again, which will help with the profile, which helps us build from the bottom up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and it goes right back to what you said, the grassroots, the volunteers, getting people captured, and I've got to say this week, Philip, I think Ulster Rugby have still played a very smart card by going for the 50% offer on the Zebre tickets. And that stadium's just about all but sold out for about 2 or 3 tickets short. And I think there's going to be people who might capture the bug, never maybe been to an Ulster game before, might have never been to a rugby game before, might just hit the bug and think, oh, what can I do locally? What is there? In my time, other Keith Rollison's touched on as well. There you are, exactly the same point. What's your thoughts on that? You talked about the Leinster having a bigger pot. Tomorrow night's going to be a big asset.
I mean, I think it's brilliant to be going. We're back at Ravenhill, haven't been there since before South Africa. That seems a long way away now, but so I think it's brilliant. It'll be a sellout, because when it's a sellout, it's a Friday night. When it's the dark nights, they are the best crack. That's when the atmosphere will come. The support will be there for the team. You know, yeah, I think it was you know, it was pretty commercially savvy to say, right, we need to do something, you know, in the current circumstances, especially let's make an offer, or Black Friday offer, or whatever you want to call it, and let's get the place packed. You know, hopefully the concessions and all will get a spin off out of that, which they need too. And look, if you're a season ticket holder, you maybe say, well, I've paid full money. You know, I have 4 season tickets that I use for work for myself. My attitude to that is maybe slightly different. As I would rather go as a season ticket holder, having paid and experienced the full atmosphere, than a half empty stadium. So, okay, I've paid a wee bit more than somebody else, but hey, presto, knew something. I got a better night out of it.
Yeah, and you also got the same seat that you like every week, and you got your chums. So
Yeah,
there's a double
that's what I
sword.
mean. There's lot to be said for it. Yeah.
For sure. Philip, I was just thinking, while you were just talking about the stadium can be buzzing, it's the Friday night and it's the under the lights, and it's when the nights are obviously great. Obviously, European nights are renowned for that at Ulster Rugby. But I was just thinking there as you were talking, if I had a chance to do my university degree and my dissertation again, I would love to do a little piece on, do the fans raise the players, or does player performance raise the fans? You know, what is the psychology of that? Have you any sort of thoughts on that from a player slash?
Look. There's a synergy there, but I would go with the first one. I think the fans raise the players, because if the stadium is packed, there's no doubt that the performance is always up there. All the big performances have nearly always come in a packed stadium. Yes, you know, a player can inspire a spectator, absolutely, but it's difficult to do it in a half-empty stadium, you know, to begin with. So, look, I would say it's definitely, you know, the 16th man is the Ulster supporters, and those guys that stand on the terraces when it's absolutely lashing, you know, and they stand there religiously, and the sort of the wetter it gets, the louder they become. I admire those guys so much. The guys think they're fantastic, and it's part of the design of the stadium too, that the spectators and fans are so close to the pitch. Other provinces pay us lots of compliments for that. That it's a great place to be, because you're right on top of the players, which the players feel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you. So, David, rounding up there, anything you would like to run past Philip at this stage, or anything else from any of the guys who have made any comments that we would like to just pop over to Philip at this
Well,
stage?
you know, I think for a lot of people, I think it's just a case of obviously looking at the pushing the game forward, and obviously some of the things that you suggested there, Philip, certainly augur well for the next year, with you as president. And I think it's the I think as we round up to the World Cup, I think it's going to be a case of what can we do, as both as a program here as the White Walkers, and also with the South Wales UC supporters club as well. You know, it's a case of what can we do now to push everybody forward, into the next 12 months. You know, would you have anything for us as fans, and you know, for us doing the show that we do? You know, what can we do to push things forward?
Well, I think firstly, you know, I would be saying thank you for everything you are doing at the minute. I mean, I think that's the first thing. You know, anything that promotes our game fairly, you know, is, to me, is a positive. So, you know, that continued promotion, you know, I think from the supporters club point of view, it is just fantastic that no matter where we go, you nearly always see that flag, you know, and especially a flag with Nevin Spence on it. That does my heart good. I would be taking a wee photo of that and send it occasionally to Emma, you know, just and that does lift you, and I know it lifts the players too, you know, it definitely does. So, you know, it's you're a very big part of the journey. You know, every spectator, every fan, every season ticket holder is a part of the journey that we're trying to take Ulster Rugby on. And I'd say, just, you know, it's you know, everybody's on that particular bus, but they don't need to be passengers on it. Everybody's got a steering wheel.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a lovely way to put it. Philip, we are going to thank you hugely for your input this evening. It's a pleasure to have a chat with you again, once again, and I really hope on the morning of the sale, or perhaps post-match, most likely pre-match. We get to catch up, share a bit of crack, share a beer, and get ready to stand up for the Ulstermen at Sale v Sharks at the Eccles Rugby Football Club.
We'll definitely try our best to do that. We'll be looking forward to that. Guys, thanks very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Philip.
No, thank you very much, Philip.
Take care. And soft Tom. Soft Tom.
Yeah, soft Tom, all right, mate.
Soft Tom.
Thank you, David. So, well, what a contribution from our fine president of Ulster branch, David.
Oh, you know what? It's not often that it's very few times I'm rendered speechless. But Craig, you know, to have Philip on the show with us this evening, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's great to hear, you know, from that side, you know, what the fans can do, and what the game can do to push everything forward.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question, and you know, just such sort of enthusiasm for the volunteer sector. Probably the biggest part of rugby has to come from the referees, the match day officials, the guys on the side who are cleaning the boots, you know, putting out the flags week in, week out, putting out the posts, you know, the bumpers, and just keeping the lawns in good order for the game and the lines. You know, just so much going on, and great to see that the president really respects and appreciates the work those guys are doing as well, for sure.
Absolutely brilliant. Look, let's have. We've got about 10 minutes left here. How about we have a wee quick look at what's been happening over this last few weeks with the internationals? You know, obviously we've talked a bits here and there about how Ireland have done over the last couple of weeks, and I suppose we might as well start off with the big win over South Africa. Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
1916 over the reigning world champions. Okay, they're not sitting number one in the world in terms of the rankings, but while you've got that Webb Ellis trophy, in theory, you're top of the world. You know, that's how the game is, and that's the prize. That's where the eyes are on the prize all day on the Webb Ellis. So, you know, the guys were obviously immense in that to go 1916 up with a win on the 5th of November. You know, it was a bit of a firework display, let's be honest.
Oh, Craig, you know, and we're not even talking about Mr. Erasmus on that one. I was just waiting for his next tweet on that, but it seems he copped a wee bit of a ban afterwards for what he did. And then, of course, very recently, I heard some criticism from Jacques Nynaber about how South Africa weren't getting any respect. To be fair, actually, I thought Ireland actually had a lot of respect for South Africa, but when it came onto the pitch, you know, we absolutely fought tooth and nail.
Yeah, I mean, there was no one. I mean, I've got to say, had Stuart McCluskey not got injured at sort of like 22 minutes, whatever it was, I would have had at that stage already McCluskey nailed on as man of the match for his performance right up until the point he went off. I think he was pretty much the talisman that was making a difference in breaking the line. His distribution, his defense, his two-up tackling, and trying to keep the man off the floor. It was probably one of the best performances I've seen of Stuart McCluskey. It was a short 20-minute window, snapshot before he went off for the injury, but I was literally enjoying every second of seeing the man snatching that jersey off whoever decided they owned it before him, Henshaw.
Yeah, but you know what? We always knew Big Stu was going to go sometime, and not just at holding tackle bags either. You know, but you know, it was a simple case of he grabbed it by the horns, and yep, he was unlucky to be injured after the 22 minutes. But you know what? I think if anything, it gave everybody and gave Andy Farrell a slight reminder of what he's capable of. And I would say that'll augur well when we get into the run-in.
Yeah, I mean, I see Nigel's just written there. He reckons there's going to be 4 centres going to the Rugby World Cup right now. In White Walker 1's position, Stu is definitely going to be one of those 4, which is, you know, just a remarkable turnaround in terms of where his career was. It was starting to stagnate as far as the international caps were going, and let's hope that does turn that around. But again, yeah, brilliant from Johnny Walker. Respect is earned, definitely not given, and I think that's very much fair to say. There was something else just come up about another wee comment there regarding. Oh, I've lost that. Of course, you give Rossi an opportunity to do us another wee video clip along the way, and then just there we are. The hone his video skills.
Oh, here, you know what? I think we'll have to say Mamma Mia on that one.
Oh, Mamma Mia, Mamma Mia. But listen, talking about bans at international rugby level, I read this evening that Nigel Owens has been banned from Facebook for 30 days.
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
Unfortunately, seems to be happening quite a bit at the moment. A lot of rather vile abuse has been fired at Nigel's door. Obviously, he had repeated that on social media to sort of say, "Here, hold on, this stuff cannot be tolerated," and yet Facebook turned around and banned Nigel instead. You know, as a wee yellow card and off for 10. Goodness only knows, what they were thinking on that one. I think they must have been getting some tips from Elon on that one, but it's.
I think Joe Lyons has written that was revoked.
So absolutely.
Is Nigel back? Is Joe Lyons suggesting that Nigel's Facebook is back on the go? That'll be interesting to see. So Joe, if you can give us some feedback, because the last I heard, he was, he's back. Oh, fabulous, good. I did post quite a significant message to Meta, so I might a little bit made some impact as well. But all good. So let's kick on. We reviewed the Ireland South Africa. For me, it was the Stuart McCluskey show. Let's just have a look at the 35-17 Ireland Fiji. What was your thoughts on that? Because it was a very disjointed game, wasn't it?
It was scrappy, but I think it gave Ireland a chance to be able to sort of show that they can win ugly, as well as have a bit of flair and craft. It was very stop start, but you know what? A win's a win. I think, I think it's being able to win ugly is probably what's going to get you, further into World Cups. And I think the more we sort of learn now to win ugly as well as try and put a bit of flair into it, I think the better that we'll do overall. Something which Ireland has struggled to do is being able to sort of when the chips are down and it has to get ugly, that they weren't just performing right,
Yeah, for sure. Good. It was a very, very stop-start, ugly game. But like I say, there was sort of the score in the end, 35-15. Sort of then started to put a wee bit of gloss on what looked like it was going to be a 23-17 or something. It didn't look like it was going to be almost a double up. So that was all right. And let's go to the last 10 minutes, shall we, of the Ireland-Australia game?
Yeah, absolutely. The other 70 were very much a game for the purist. But that last 10 minutes, my goodness me. Hey, we know how to do nail shredders. When do we do another one? And that's what that turned out to be. But defensively, I thought some of the defense was absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, you just cannot rule out Australia any minute of the match. I almost thought for a second we were going to suffer another last minute goal heartbreaker.
Well,
but you know what?
That was a really interesting discussion because the match before it was the England-New Zealand game, and New Zealand, England decided to kick the ball dead and played for the draw. When everyone was saying that, obviously Marcus Smith should have, with the momentum, have kept that flow and maybe gone on to see the win or whatever, or a bit of flair champagne rugby, or they may have gone on to lose it. Who knows? It's a friendly. There's nothing won or lost.
Yeah.
But, and then,
I think I got why they went that way with it, but at the same time, it's not a full blown tournament fixture, so it's a case of, well, sure, let's try it and see what happens. But then, the way England have been performing recently, you'd almost think they were just going to go risk averse. at any time, and maybe that's just maybe a sign of the pressure that their coach is under at the moment.
Yeah, and then you go the other side of that, and you sort of think, well, Australia went for bust. They didn't play for the win, play for the draw. They went for the win, and of course, they fell short of the mark. But I think that was what the crowd, that's what Twickenham, that's what World Rugby expected from England, was to keep that ball live and just play it out. And of course, it didn't happen.
Well, look, Johnny Wappa put a good one. What about Big Stu and Bundy as a pairing?
Do you know what? I think Big Stu and Ringrose would be my preference if they could play alongside each other. I know they're pretty much the same player, but I think for me, Henshaw is a crash ball player. For me, Aki's a crash ball player. So I think if we have Stu with his hands, his talent, his offloads alongside Gary Ringrose, I think that would absolutely open up the park.
Oh, I think Joe was just no.
So obviously Joe wants a Henshaw Aki pairing, and everyone else will have to wait their turn. Any thoughts on that?
You know what? I understand why Henshaw and Ringrose have been sort of the go-to partnership for the last couple of years. But you know what? I think Big Stu and Ringrose actually could work very well together. They may be slated in the same way, but same player, but at the same time, there's little skills here and there, just complement each other, and it could end up being quite apparent.
Yeah, I think so. But who knows? I mean, that's for powers well above us to work out. And I'm going to give you a little heads up here. We are probably for the first time ever looking towards a close within the 80-minute mark without going into ET. So all good. Yeah, any of us guys from the team, Joe Lyons is now crying in the corner. He's literally sitting in the corner, rocked up in the corner, backwards and forwards. He needs a hug from his wee favourite scrum half. What's this now? Gerald Williams said, have you asked yourself a question why so few people are taking up the whistle? It's because of the dogs abuse seen on social media. Gerald, it terrifies me. I know recently Leinster have I think did they give out 3 or 5 new referee licenses in the last few weeks at Leinster? Referee Academy, absolutely fabulous. Do you know what? Right now, I think the sort of malice, the hateful comments. Rossi is only the tip of the iceberg. You look at every social media forum, and I'm going to say all of them. And on match night, all of a sudden, we've got this referee. Oh no, he doesn't do us any justice. Blah blah blah. It's week in, week out. And you've got to just sort of think, you know what, the referee on the day will play the whistle to what they see, and I think we have got to respect the referee is trying to keep the game expansive. Sometimes it's stop-start, but I think any referee that stands in front of 30 giants with a view to saying that wasn't quite right, lads, lads or ladies, is probably a whole lot braver than me.
Well, I could say this, Chris, and I could say this, having been a referee in the round ball game for quite a few years. Any referee, no matter if they're doing a schools game or if they're doing a full-on test international, anybody who goes out there, and certainly in the grassroots, we know that there is abuse out there. We think the IRFU should be doing a lot more to try and stamp that out, and I think that's incumbent on all of us as fans, as parents, to sort of look at what we do and just say, no, let's respect the person who's went out there, who's trained, and who's done the necessary training to be able to referee a good game of rugby. Congratulate them at the end of the game when, yes, we know sometimes they're going to get things wrong. We all get things wrong. We make our mistakes and we learn from them. But it's up to us to be able to sort of challenge the status quo of saying, no, you just be quiet.
Yeah, and we were, just to give an insight of where this is going, Dave. Back at the last game, Susie and I went for the Wales fixture, Wales Argentina. We were literally in the college. There was only 2 more rows behind us before we were sat on the roof of the Pigeons. And there was a young lad in the row behind us. He went, "Referee, you're stupid!" And he's 5 years of age. And
Oh
he's
my
called
goodness!
stupid. And you just see that's where you know where that's going to go in the future. That word "stupid" is going to change to something much more inappropriate going forward. So
Well, in that case, then I would be asking the pigeon to let loose, and maybe that would sort of quieten down that abuse.
yeah, there you are. And Joe Lyons hit the nail on the head about it's the reprimand from the kids, and when we were at school rugby, it was all about "yes, sir, thank you, sir, not a problem, sir. We'll just stand over here and wait your instruction." But it's slowly going out, and I think some players are also leading that as well a bit. This is not soccer. That mantra, I think, our hill starting to slip, Dave.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a matter of saying, Christopher.
What a finish, Mr. Rob Shaw. Beautiful. I think on that note, Mr. Topham, we should look to round in this evening up.
Absolutely. Let's blow the whistle on this one.
I think so. And folks, can we just once again thank our sponsors and supporters. We this evening, we've got Dave Topham in the TMO. We've got myself, Chris Brownfield, chair of the South Wales Ulster Rugby, and this evening our special guest, Philip GREER, Ulster Rugby president. We need to thank Philip for his time this evening. And as always, I think a big shout out to the WhiteWalkers Chat, which is part of the 3 Bod Rugby Group, in conjunction with Kanako Biltong, in conjunction with Auto Door Solutions by our White Walker One, and of course a huge shout out again to Indie Foods. Guys, a really big thank you this evening. Mr. Topham, I'll let you close that out. Thank you, sir.
And look, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening, and remember, stand up for the Ulster men.
Absolutely. Diolch yn fawr. Day on.